welcome to this deep dive. We're here to pull out the key insights from sources you care about.
That's right.
And today, we're really focusing on a pretty significant development in financial regulation. President Trump's nomination of Brian Quintenz to chair the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC.
Yeah, a really key regulator, and well, especially important right now with all the focus on crypto assets and also those prediction markets we're seeing.
Exactly. So our goal today, our mission, if you like, is to really dig into Quintenz, look at his background, what his disclosed financial ties are.
And what that might mean for CFTC regulation. We're basing this mainly on a news report that details his ethics disclosures quite thoroughly.
Okay, so let's paint a quick picture of the nominee. Brian Quintenz, he's not new to the CFTC.
No, he served as a commissioner before, 2017 to 2021, I believe.
Right, and more recently, he's been at Andreessen Horowitz, A16s, as their global head of crypto policy. Big name in VC.
A very big name. And it's important, he has said he'll step down from A16s if he's confirmed. That's part of the plan.
Okay.
But this is where it gets particularly relevant for you listening. His financial disclosures, they show these direct links. Connections to crypto, connections to prediction markets.
But, two major areas the CFTC is actively regulating right now.
Precisely. So that immediately throws up questions, right? Potential conflicts, the direction the agency might take.
Okay, let's try and unpack those financial disclosures a bit. The source, a Bloomberg report from May 27th, mentions disclosed assets worth, at least $3.4 million?
Yeah, at least $3.4 million. And a fair chunk of that seems tied to his work with AH Capital Management.
Which is the investment management part of Andreessen Horowitz.
Correct. The disclosures specifically list stakes in several of their investment funds. Let's see, CNK Fund III, CNK Seed I Fund, CNK IV Fund.
Okay.
And beyond that, he also has capital commitments to related general partners within that whole A16Z structure. So it suggests a pretty significant ongoing financial interest there.
Which naturally makes you wonder how those interests might, intersect with potential CFTC decisions on crypto, where A16Cs is obviously a huge player.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop with crypto either. He's also listed as a board member for Kalshi.
Kalshi, the prediction markets platform.
Right.
They let people trade on future event outcomes.
Yeah.
That platform's definitely been on the CFTC's radar.
Been on the radars, putting it mildly. And his connection isn't just like advisory. He's on the board, yes, but he also holds stock in Kalshi.
Stock, and the report mentions unvested stock options too.
Exactly, unvested options. So that gives him a direct financial upside tied to how well Kalshi does in that prediction market space. Again, an area the CFTC regulates.
So you have to ask, could that potential future gain, maybe color his approach to regulating platforms like Kalshi?
It's the core question, isn't it? And there's one more piece mentioned. Stock invested options in next level derivatives. That's a finance and lending brokerage.
So yeah, his finances seem quite tangled up with the sectors the CFTC oversees.
Very much so. As the report lays out, his portfolio sits squarely at the intersection of crypto asset regulation and prediction markets, two major policy areas for the CFTC.
And that's exactly where these potential conflicts become, a really key thing for you to think about.
And we even have a concrete example of this tension, right? The report mentions the recent legal fight between Kalshi and the CFTC.
Oh, yeah, over election betting.
Exactly. Whether betting on election outcomes could be allowed as event contracts under CFTC rules. That whole thing just got settled earlier in May.
So that highlights a really live, potentially thorny regulatory area where Quintenz, through Kalshi, has had a direct interest.
It really underscores how sensitive regulating these markets is, and given his board role, his financial stake, it invites scrutiny as he aims to lead the agency that was just in a dispute with that very company.
How does someone with those ties ensure they're being impartial?
Well, that brings us to the mitigation strategies. What's he saying he'll do about these potential conflicts?
Okay, so his agreement letter to the CFTC Ethics Office, dated May 21st, it lays out some steps.
It does. He commits, and this is pretty standard language, not to participate personally and substantially in any specific matter where he knows he has a financial interest that could be directly and predictably affected.
Standard ethics procedure, basically. Don't use your public job for personal gain.
Right. He also goes further, detailing plans to resign from, all these conflicting positions.
So stepping down from A16s and resigning the Kalshi board seat.
Yes, and selling off the conflicting assets, all within 90 days of confirmation. That's the commitment.
90 days, okay.
And there are specific recusals mentioned, too. He's pledging to stay out of A16s-related matters for 2 years post-confirmation.
2 years for A16s in. So what about Kalshi?
For Kalshi, it's a 1-year recusal period. And he also explicitly states he'll forfeit any unvested stock options in those companies.
Giving up the unvested option.
Yeah. So these are definitely significant steps trying to draw a line between his private sector past and his potential regulatory future. You might still ask, are those timeframes long enough given how CFTC decisions can play out over time?
That's a fair point. The report also mentions he'll follow standard conflict laws, get ethics briefings, the usual compliance stuff. But it does note he plans to keep 2 unpaid trustee positions for family trusts.
Yeah, that's mentioned. Usually unpaid roles like that are okay as long as the assets in the trusts themselves don't create a direct conflict. The main focus seems to be on the direct financial stakes in A16s and Kalshi.
Okay, now let's shift gears just a little. The report also touches on something else happening at the CFTC, kind of a commissioner exodus.
Yeah, that's an important piece of context here. It looks like the agency is going through a period of pretty significant leadership change.
The report suggests that potentially all 4 other commissioner spots could open up this year.
Which is, well, quite a lot of turnover for a regulatory agency like this. It could really change the dynamic.
We know Commissioner Kristen Johnson, a Democrat, announced she's leaving later this year. That was May 21st.
Right. And before that, Commissioners Summer Mersinger and Christy Goldsmith-Romero had said they were stepping down May 30th and 31st.
So a lot of movement.
Yeah, and we're not speculating on why they're leaving, just noting the fact that it's happening. If Quintenz gets confirmed, he could be walking into a commission with several new members.
Which could give him potentially quite a bit of influence in shaping the agency's direction.
Absolutely. It's a major factor.
So let's try to wrap this up. We've seen Brian Quintenz, the nominee for CFTC chair, has these deep financial roots in crypto and prediction markets via A16s and Kalshi.
Right, which, given the CFTC's job, naturally brings up these questions about potential conflicts of interest. It's unavoidable.
But importantly, he has outlined steps to address this. Resignations, divestment, specific recusals for A16s, and Kalshi.
Yes, clear mitigation measures laid out in that ethics letter, designed to tackle those concerns head-on.
And we've also got this backdrop of major change within the CFTC itself, with multiple commissioners heading for the door.
A commission potentially in flux.
So I guess the big question that leaves for you, the listener, is what does all this mean? You've got his deep industry background, the evolving regulations, the changes at the CFTC.
What might his leadership actually look like for crypto and prediction market regulation down the line? How do you balance that, the value of his experience against the potential risks of those conflicts?
It's definitely something to watch, his confirmation process and then what he actually does if confirmed. That's going to be critical for anyone following these emerging financial sectors.
Absolutely. It will be very telling.